if you've just gotten engaged, or perhaps engaged over the holidays, or maybe engaged right before everything with coronavirus hit, you've probably sort of been sitting on the sidelines, too nervous to start planning your wedding because should you even start? Is that even a good idea? Today I'll be answering that question. The short answer is yes, and talking you through how to even start planning your wedding in the middle of a pandemic. In addition, I'm going to be sharing something quite special at the end of the video, a little ray of sunshine, if you will. So you're going to want to make sure you stick around for that. Hi there, I'm Jamie Chang, your destination wedding planning guru and designer of joy at Mango Muse Events and the creator of Passport to Joy, the step-by-step online wedding planning course for couples. And I share real and honest and useful wedding planning tips, tricks, and advice you can use today to help you make wedding planning easier and more joyful so you can create a wedding you love. Because let's face it, wedding planning isn't always happy. In fact, it can be super stressful, especially now, and nobody wants that. So we're bringing the joy back to wedding planning. Are you ready? All right, let's do this. So if you've been engaged recently, if you got engaged recently, whether that's in the last few days, or since lockdown happened, or over the holidays, or maybe right before all the craziness hit, you've probably been wondering, should I even start planning my wedding? Is this something that even makes sense given everything going on? And I know planning a wedding can seem just kind of crazy right now. And there are people who are in the middle of sort of postponing and canceling or sitting in that kind of wait and see mode. Because how does this even start, right? How do you even begin this in the middle of all this crazy? How do you make decisions? And maybe it makes more sense to just kind of wait and see. And while you can definitely wait and see if you want to. You definitely don't have to. And just because we're in the middle of a pandemic, doesn't mean you have to put your wedding on hold. You can actually start thinking about it and planning this amazing celebration, which it still is. And I actually recommend that you do that you plan this amazing day. And there are really a few reasons why. And the first is that, you likely have time right now, time at home, time with your partner, which means instead of, say, watching TV 24/7, which of course you certainly can do, and there's nothing wrong with that, you have the time now, the time to start thinking, to start planning, and you can probably get a lot done in this time of social distancing. In addition, your wedding is a celebration, a really important one. And once we're through all of this, celebrating is going to be oh so important for everybody, you included. And planning means you get to look forward to that celebration and being with, the people that you love. And then lastly, your wedding is a happy thing, as is your engagement, both super happy things. And thinking about and planning this happy thing might just be the thing you need to get through this tough time. That joy and happiness and love that you feel. Oh, and don't forget, there's one last reason. The special surprise I mentioned earlier. It's really going to help make this whole planning process so much easier, and so that's a good reason to start planning now too. So make sure, obviously, that you stick around because we're going to be talking about that. But the moral of the story here is start planning. There's no reason that you have to wait. It really is a good time for so many reasons, and it will help sort of give you some purpose too during this time. Okay, so now the question, right? The inevitable next question is how? How do you start planning? And you want to start where you always start, which is with the foundation. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about here and you haven't checked out our series on 7 steps to planning and creating a wedding you love, you're going to want to check that out. It's super helpful even now. No matter what's going on in the world, those steps are still applicable and will help you through the process. But today, we're going to be specifically talking about step number 1. And well, everything I talk about in our video today and previously, or I guess I should say previously, it still applies. Today's video is really about the additional pieces that you're going to have to be thinking about so that you're considering obviously the situation at hand, which is coronavirus. And so before we dive into all that and talking about step 1 and the foundation and how to think through that via coronavirus times, I also want to mention that, if you've started to plan your wedding, or maybe you're in the middle of postponing, or maybe you are playing that wait and see game because your wedding is a little later this year, going back through the foundation, through step 1, will also help you because now is the time to reassess and make changes if you're going to do so. So this is a good chance for you to sort of refresh and rethink about the things that make that foundation for your wedding. So we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to start with why, your vision. Now, this is always pretty much the most important part of your foundation, but even more so now. Because we're in this coronavirus world, you are forced to think about what's important. You just are. Which, while the situation, kind of sucks, it's actually really helpful for your planning. Because understanding what's really important to you is so important to your planning. And perhaps more so than ever before, we are just face to face with it, right? Face to face with what's really important. So think about it. Think about it with your partner. Discuss it. What do you care about? What's important to you? And this discussion is for you and your partner to think about what you care about in general, but also how it relates to the other pieces of your foundation. Because, as a reminder, everything works together. So, once again, perhaps more so than ever, it's not just that these pieces have to work together, but they really have to work together. They have to work together in order for it to make sense and for it to make sense for you. So let me sort of walk you through or pose a few questions and some scenarios to help you sort of start thinking, to get that brain moving, and you to sort of start really considering what you care about, but also how that works with everything else. Okay, so let's start by potentially answering the question I just posed, which is what's really important. Now, everyone's different, and perhaps your answers will be different, but I would imagine that likely at least one of your answers to that is going to be people. The people that you love. And so what this means is your guest list. So then the question becomes, who is important? It's something you're going to want to think through as you think through your guest list. Now, then we want to think about sort of the when and how soon do you want to get married? Do you want to get married now with sort of the restrictions that come with that? Or do you want to get married when things are back to normal? When things are safe? Or maybe both. Something to think about. Then there's the where, right? Do you want a destination wedding? And maybe you're willing to wait to get that. Or do you want something close to home because that's what you always wanted, or because that's what makes sense now? Or is perhaps a semi-destination wedding the thing that makes the most sense for you? And then there's the budget. So who's paying for the wedding? And what's the situation with your job and your income, or let's say your parents' savings and income? How much do you want to spend, or how much can you spend? Now, with All of these pieces that we're talking through, the question you also want to be thinking about is, how does that work with what's important to you? How does that work with the why and what you care about? Now, these are all just questions to sort of get that brain thinking, to get you thinking about different options, but also what matters. And I would suggest you sort of think through the questions kind of together, because one decision in one area will affect a decision in another area. Which leads me to scenarios. And so I want to kind of just share some hypothetical scenarios with you so you can see how these pieces work together, and also, once again, see what the options are and what that could entail given what matters to you and the decisions you want to make. So, if you want to get married anytime soon, and by soon I mean, sometime in the next few months, there will be restrictions around that. So, what does that mean? What does that look like in reality, right? That could mean you elope in your home, or you have a virtual wedding. Both are very obviously cost effective. So, from a budget standpoint, they help a lot. But obviously, you aren't physically with other people, and that can be a bummer. There's a lot of things you can do, but if that's really important to you, then maybe having a wedding later makes more sense. Or maybe doing both makes sense. Or maybe that's not a big deal to you at all, and you just want to get married now. All things to think about. Now, if you want to get married when things are, completely safe, you'd be looking at next year. And I'd say probably at least a year from now. So let's say, at least next year, April at the earliest. But can you wait that long? Do you want to wait that long? Or is having, that normal, quote unquote normal, there's nothing wrong with normal, but normal sort of big wedding, if that's important to you, then yes, you're going to want to wait. You're going to want to wait till things are completely safe. Now, what if you want, say, a small wedding? You want to get married maybe sometime before next year, but you don't want to elope. At some point, the lockdown will ease, and there will likely still be, banning of large gatherings for a while, I would imagine. But let's say you're interested in a micro wedding, or an at-home wedding, or just a small wedding. It might be possible. You'll likely either need to keep your date flexible or pick something later in the year to ensure that, you'll likely have the chance to do this. Now, what if, say, eloping or a destination wedding is something that you really want? Or perhaps maybe you just don't happen to live in the same area as the people that you would want at your wedding. And thus, travel is sort of required. Now, travel is a big, obviously, unknown piece here with everything going on with coronavirus. But likely the same rules will apply to gatherings. So at some point, the restrictions will ease a bit. But if you want to be safe and you want your guests to feel safe, you're going to want to wait. Looking at something probably next year to be safe. Now, what if your income is gone or reduced, or things have just changed financially for you? A lot of people are being affected in various ways by this. And so the next question becomes, how does that affect your plans? Maybe you do something smaller. Maybe you do something close to home, or you push your wedding out until you can be more financially stable. Now, obviously, these are just some scenarios to get your brain thinking, as I said before. And everybody's situation is different. And what's important to you, to someone else, is different. And so you have to discuss this with your partner and see how you feel. Discuss all these different things and come to a decision that you feel good about, that gets, all those pieces that we talked about to work together. Now, this might take a while. It might. It might not all happen in one conversation, and that's okay. There is time. And if you're already planning, let's say you're in the beginning stages or in the middle or towards the end of your planning, and thinking through this has made you realize that there are some changes you need to make, now is the time to make them. Your foundation is super duper important. It's the key to planning your wedding. And especially in these uncertain times, you'll be relying on it, to help you as you continue to plan your wedding. So you just want to make sure it's super duper solid, whether you're just starting out or whether you're in the middle of planning your wedding and things have changed. Make sure you get this into a really good place given everything going on, and make sure all the pieces work together for you. Now, once you have that solid foundation, then comes the next stage, which is how the heck do you plan your wedding virtually, right? You're at home, you can't meet people, you can't see people. How does this all work? Don't you worry. We are going to be talking about that in our next video. So you're going to want to hit subscribe so that you get access to that and notification as soon as it comes live. Now, we are at that point where I have something very exciting to share. And if you watched our last video, we talked about little rays of sort of sunshine. And so this is our little ray of sunshine that we're giving to you. And we are doing a giveaway. We are giving away 3 free memberships to Passport to Joy, my online wedding planning course for couples. And we're super duper excited about it. Because I know that, there are a lot of people dealing with loss of income or just uncertainty about their job, about life, right? Uncertainty about everything. And we'd like to help. I'd like to help in the way that we can. So we're giving away 3 Passport to Joy memberships to 3 lucky couples. And I really hope that you're one of them. This is going to make planning your wedding just so much easier and happier. And honestly, we could all use some help right now. So to enter, you're going to want to check out the link below. You can enter from today until April 22nd. And there are ways to also increase your chances of winning, like subscribing to our channel and liking and commenting on this video. But you can check out all the details below. We're really excited about sharing this and about bringing this little ray of sunshine into your life, a wedding stimulus package of sorts. So I really hope you'll enter, and I really hope you'll win. Okay, so we're going to wrap this video up with a question. And here's the question. What's one thing that's really important to you about your wedding? And if you've been planning for a while and you now kind of rethinking through things, is it now different than what you had previously thought it was? Let me know in a comment below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please like it. Give us some thumbs up. We love those. You can check out our other wedding planning videos for even more tips, and make sure you hit subscribe to get all the new ones, especially next week's video. You're going to want to check that out. And of course, if you need help or want help through the entire wedding planning process, especially now, check out Passport to Joy, my online course. You can find out all the links below. And remember, you can enter to win a free membership as well. So you're going to want to check that out too. Because you deserve to enjoy your engagement, even in the middle of a pandemic. Thanks so much for being here. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.